Hi and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Monday, May 2nd, 2022, and the topic for the day is called Sky Flowers. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening April 24th through May 1st, 2022. And this is show number 151. Now, why is this called Sky Flowers, you may be asking? You'll see when we tie this into the words wisdom and spirit of the day pages coming up. And also this image here of, I'm going to say, quote unquote, clouds in the western sky, because I've never known clouds to look like this. I don't think anybody else out there, you probably have not either. But it very loosely reminds me of these kind of frost flowers, or I think it's called window frost, ice flowers that grow up, a pattern up the windows when it's ice, snow outside. We don't really get to experience that here ever in South Florida, tropical to subtropical Florida, but I have seen it at least once. So it just reminds me of that a little bit. It's a very loose connection, but let's get into the show. So I did take a picture of these gorgeous flowers last month. And I was just going to leave it at that and just wish everybody well out there, especially if you're encountering people around you, close to you, or acquaintances, or you're hearing stories of people passing and leaving this planet, or if they're coming down with heart attacks or cancer cases. I don't know about you, but it's getting way too frequent in my sphere, and just not even just in my own family, but many people deep, acquaintances deep. I'm finding that whether people are in their 40s or 80s, it just seems like a lot of people are exiting the planet lately, or are having a hard time staying here. They're fighting for their lives. I hope that's not happening to you. It just seems to be really off the charts frequent in my little sphere here on Earth. So if it is happening to you, I wish you well. I wish all the people affected all the best. And I just, for now, all I can do is say, I send you the best wishes, heartfelt wishes, and may these kind of, this image of these beautiful flowers at least bring you a little comfort, and just know somebody out there cares and really does wish you well with whatever you might be going through with it. But on a little bit of a brighter note, I did look up, I just found this article that was really interesting, and it's listed on Greekerthangreeks.com, and it is called 20 Ancient Greek Myths About 20 Ancient Greek Flowers. So I thought I would just list them. They cover 20, and if you go look on this article over there at that website, they kind of give the Greek mythology associated with all these flowers and give a nice little description. So it's worth checking out. And I just listed them here. I'll go ahead and read them out loud in case people are moving about and not looking at the screen. If you're just listening to this as audio for some reason, I didn't remember to look up the pronunciation of the first one. I think it's aconite or aconite. Then we have anemone, aster, campanula or bellflower, crocus, dianthus, they call that flowers of the gods, delphinium or larkspur, hellebore or Christmas rose, hyacinth, iris, lily, lotus, narcissus, orchid, peony, poppy, rose, sunflower or heliotrope, violet, and yarrow. So I do recommend you go check out that article, and also take a look at any one of these interesting flowers and look up their healing properties, because a lot of these do have healing properties, whether it's from the petals or if some of them have seeds, stems. There's a lot of uses for each and every plant and plant life form out there. So have fun looking around at that. Now, as a continuation of that article, they talk about Chloris. It's spelled Chloris as being the Greek goddess of flowers. Now, the Roman goddess version is Flora, which the Greeks came before the Romans. And if we get a good look at what's our real Earth history and our galactic origins, I invite you to go look there to kind of put it together about who these gods and goddesses really were, or maybe still are if they're still living. It's very fascinating when you look at that galactic angle. And I've mentioned it before, but go ahead and take a look around on YouTube. If you just type in Ashayana Deane, and that's Ashayana, and then Deane, and you look at some of her work, including Voyagers, and there's some really great interviews that she's done. Just look around and see what strikes your fancy, and you're going to find some really eye-opening and interesting things. Especially, I think there's something called Earth Origins. do look at that, what she's presenting as our true Earth history, and I think it will truly expand your mind. When you add that on top of when we look at who are these gods and goddesses, there's a fascinating frieze, and it's part of a altar to Zeus, and it's found in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin, Germany, right now. It's been there for a long time, and it was taken, completely taken from an area in Turkey, and put in this museum in Berlin, in the Museum Insel, which is like an island, a museum island. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend you check that out. If you have not been, if you have the opportunity to go one day, they also have the Ishtar Gate and some other really remarkable pieces in there. Anyway, I invite you to take a look at that too. Actually, there's a little virtual tour. If you look that up, Pergamon Museum, and you look up the Battle of the Gods and the Giants, and you will see remarkable work. And if you dig a little deeper into that, then you start to question, well, wait a minute, who are these gods and who are the giants? And so I'm just kind of like trying to pique your interest to go dig around and do some investigation on your own, research some of the stuff, and start to ask yourself, okay, who are these like really giant beings, and then what does that mean relative to us as humans? Now, I'm bringing that up because I'm going to read this little passage first about Chloris. So let me jump back a minute. So this little passage says about Chloris: in Greek mythology, the rose, the queen of flowers, is said to have been created by the goddess of flowers, Chloris, who was said to breathe roses as she spoke. One day, as Chloris was wandering through the woods, she came upon the lifeless body of a breathtakingly beautiful young nymph. Chloris was greatly saddened by the loss of such an exquisite beauty, and feeling compassion for the poor nymph, transformed her into a flower, so that her beauty may live on. Now, I'm bringing up this whole thing about who were these gods really, and if you do look into that Ashayana Deane's work, and look at, especially, I think there's a YouTube video called Earth's History, or Histories, you will be amazed at what some of these beings really were. Now, I'm just bringing that up because we have the running theme here of transformation of these gods and goddesses being able to transform people, especially human beings that they were not pleased with. And so that, the first thing that comes to my mind is Athena, who not only, transformed Medusa into this hideous snake-like thing, but she also caused Arachne to kill herself, and then brought her back to life somehow, and turned her into a spider. So what is that about? Who treats other life forms like that, and has this transforming power? So I'm just dropping it here for you to go look on your own at the reference that I left there. See what you think. So anyway, needless to say, there's a lot of fascinating information in there. And what are our true origins? Well, I do believe they go back as far as Atlantis, Lemuria, and far, far beyond that if you look at Ashayana Deane's work. Anyway, let's get into the sky observations portion of the show. Now, these are going to be in the skies of Miami, Florida, and I am still dealing with an unusual schedule given what I mentioned about people exiting the planet and whatnot. But I'm catching what I can and still trying to get these shows out. So I'll still do my best to try to keep them on a regular schedule of bringing them out to you. But anyway, in this case, we're looking southwest. And what was very unusual was here we have this form kind of teetering off to the left here in the screen. And then we have these things coming in on a different angle. And again, that just would not be a typical cloud pattern. And when I say again, I do invite anybody who's new to this channel to go look at some of my older, my previous ones to get the gist of what I'm doing here. I really don't want to repeat the usual intro that I don't normally do today. But anyway, whether you're new or returning to this channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it and extend my heartfelt thanks to you and wish all of you well. So here we go. On this scene, I'm just noting I'm flagging A and B. I'm going to move through this first set rather quickly because we have other better, more fun, and very interesting images to look at coming up. But right now we have this unusual form just kind of, billowing up out of in a very atypical, type. That's not even a cloud form I can even identify. And then it looks very artificial. And then again, we've got these things splaying out this way. So we're going to look at it with some enhancement. And when I talk about enhancement, I'm simply taking the original photo and adjusting the levels inherent within the photo. So just color saturation, brightness, contrast, maybe color temperature, and that's about it. Just to draw out and better highlight what might be going on in here, we're going to be looking at things like color signatures and, all kinds of things. So you'll see as we get into the show. This just better shows, kind of what I'm talking about. This is just a really bizarre form, and the movement in here is really strange. And we are looking southwest, so we're getting some bursts of like really white light. The whole thing just felt really, really odd. Here we're looking to the east in the evening, and we start to see like an imprint, a triangular imprint here, but also like a rectangular one, and something else happening here coming in like perpendicular, which again, if you have a normal cloud system, it would be moving, just kind of moving along in this area of the world. But here you're never going to have things coming in, perpendicular to each other in a natural cloud system. So there are a lot of weird oddities happening all over the place in this one. Let's just jump to the enhanced version. And actually, I'm even going to do a little sketch overlay just to make sure everyone can see that this looks like a triangular imprint form, and then something else diving in down here. So I just drew some lines there. I'm going to toggle back and forth so you can see it like that, and then see what I'm looking at. Now, in this further enhanced view here, I took out all the color. That's just so it helps our eye to brain connection, see things in a new way, a different way perhaps. And, it's less distracting, with all the blue here, just to hopefully make it a little more clear for people to see what's going on. So what's going on here, I have no idea. I'm going to say it's cloak and craft because it's very odd, again, that we'd have deliberate movement coming in more or less perpendicular on some other kind of form. But as I always say, see what you think or feel it out what you feel is going on here. Now, this is another part of one of those images, and it just looked really odd, the texture here, this kind of movement here too. And then we go to the right and look at the enhanced version, and sure enough, we see a very clear outline of something and a very strange texture. Now again, it's doing its own thing, and it's its own little animal here, especially when we look at whatever the cloud quote-unquote material is doing down here. Now when I say cloud in quotes, I am saying yes, that's artificial, that's not real cloud, and I'm highly suspecting that there is cloaking craft going on in there. Now cloud, I talk about that as being cloaking material. My go-to, what I'm going to call it, is plasma, just referring to something heavier and denser than just, cloud, vapor, moisture, that can sit in the sky for a long time and really cloak things well. Is it exactly plasma? I don't know. I don't have something to go up and measure it, but that's just what I'm going to refer to it as now. That's what I suspect is going on. But hopefully we'll all find out more about all this stuff very soon. All right, we're going to zoom in one more time on this thing. I know it gets a little bit mappy and fragmented, but when we zoom in and I put a little more contrast on, we start to see like a pipe-like thing popping out here, start to see a little more character. No matter what, even though I can't tell you exactly what it is, we do know that's not natural, and that's not like a natural cloud form. And so again, see what you think is going on there. Now we're going to look to the west, and it just looked really strange. This thing's like dipping down on a weird sharp angle. It has a very kind of direct edge here to it, this overall system. And then we've got this thing, then just erupting straight up out of it. And it looks like there's also some loose connection here, like, do we have battle going on? Is there some type of cloaking craft up here shooting something down here, or vice versa? Hard to say. Some images are easier to see stuff like that than others in some of my previous shows. But here we go. We look to the right with enhancement. There's something with character, and, looks like harder edges happening up in here. So I got to say there is some kind of craft cloaking up in here. And then also something going on in here, because we have a triangular shape. If you follow my cursor on the right-hand side, there's a straight line there. That is absolutely a triangular form with very, specific structure to it. And then this is pitching down at an angle that's totally different to this. Come on, that doesn't happen with natural clouds. And then this whole thing that's kind of teetering on angle here, looks like it has something else that could be a little craft that's like piggybacking on this thing or about to land on whatever's cloaking in here, is what I'm estimating to be happening in this scene. Then we look up here, and there's a lot of weird kind of textures and divots and dents, and I almost missed that one, so I think absolutely this is also craft coming in, from this angle. So are there two things like, battling with each other, or is this almost like a giant stingray where that would be the tail, and we're just, and that this is an overall craft right here? I don't know. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in little details of things, and we miss the bigger picture. So as I talk about narrate any of these, keep that in mind. Like if I get fixated on a little detail here, keep in mind that that might just be the rim of something much bigger. Now, I'm also narrating this on a laptop screen at that scale. If I were, I've mentioned it in every show, and bear with me if you're returning, but this is for the new people. If I narrated all of this on like a handheld phone or smaller like thumbnail version of this, I would probably be talking about a bunch of different things, because depending on how you look at this on a bigger screen or smaller screen, you're going to see all different kinds of things. So I invite you, if you have both a laptop and a smaller handheld device, and you can put them side by side and play the show and just toggle your view up from one to the other and back and forth, you're going to see a lot of different things pop out at you. Now, I almost forgot to mention, there's a line here, and I did observe that as it was being created, it was like a chemtrail being, real time happening across all of this. I'm just going to say mess, because I don't know what the heck is going on in that scene. I hope you have some interesting ideas. If you feel like sharing them in the comment section below, feel free to do so. Now we're zooming in. Let me go back one more time. We're going to zoom in on this piece right in here. And so here we go. So the left is the original, the right's enhanced. And this absolutely has engineered character to it. And what exactly these things are doing, I don't know. I haven't quite seen the blur out, like camouflage or whatever, energy pulsing, whatever's creating that. Haven't seen it look quite like that before. So it's very interesting. And again, this could be a craft here attached to like the deck of something cloaking here. You see what you see in that. See what you think. All right, now we're looking west, and then this just stood out when you look to the left. Look at this piece on a weird angle. These are on opposing angles. A weird texture happening up here in the sky. We look to the right-hand side at the enhanced version, and we see it a little more clearly. I think we can all agree this is not a typical, texture in natural cloud. We start to see a point of a very clear triangle. This is a very perfect kind of egg-like elliptical shape. And so, I got to say, there's a lot of something going on up in there that to me is going to be, of course, cloak and craft. And then we're going to zoom in on that little weird odd man out here, and we definitely see, what the heck is this thing? Obviously, this has a lot of mass. It has a little bit of reflection on the top. It looks like it's diving into some other kind of artificial, plasma-like material. Although it does have like a form to it, almost like a triangular form here, like a dart-like shape. And then we have a triangle here. So, what's going on here? And then this gets real solid. So again, I think there is craft hiding in here as well. See what you think that is. That one has me stumped, but it's clearly not natural for a natural sky. And all of this is incredibly low. Keep in mind, incredibly low. Not that far off from the tree line. So what is happening in our skies today? This is looking west again, and now this form started to emerge. Look at these little bumps and ridges. It's definitely something with structure happening. And again, this is coming across straight, banking back that way, and then this elliptical pointed ellipse is, going off this way. So again, no natural cloud is going to bank down on an angle and then come straight across and have this kind of character to it. And then we got this burst of light in the background, so we're definitely going to look at this with enhancement to see what's going on. And I really exaggerated it out in terms of blowing out the colors and stuff, just to see if we could see anything a little bit better pop out. I'm still as mystified, but I can absolutely say this is not natural happening in our skies. And look how straight this line becomes. What's going on back in here? So as I've said in other shows, we know there's a ton of particulate in the sky that's artificially laid there. And to, not camouflage, but mask out our ability to see some of these things. Like a literal smoke and mirrors is going on in our skies to hide this stuff. All right, now we're going to zoom in on that little piece. I still was trying to get at what the heck are we looking at, and I really didn't get much more. But once again, I got affirmation. This is not normal. Look at these two legs. They're parallel to each other as they bank up. No cloud would do that. I think that's pretty clear. All right, what's not clear is what's going on here looking south. We look to the left, and again, what caught my eye immediately was I start to see not only this triangular form, but these, kind of design points or holes. And so we look to the right with enhancement. We see it much better. So look at this. If you follow my cursor, that is a triangular form with depth and dimension to it. And then we've got, symmetrical kind of patterning going around right here. I don't know what this is. I'm not sure what's going up in here. But I can absolutely say that's not natural in our clouds. And again, we got like this stick-like thing, very rigid with a sharp edge to it. This whole thing has intelligent design to it. See what you think is going on, though. All right, we're going to zoom in. Actually, let me go back. We're going to zoom in, just on this piece where my cursor is. And here we go. You may have to squint a little if this is on a bigger screen. It's a little bit mappy on the bigger scale. But look at this. If you follow my cursor, that's part of that triangular form. And that's just a really straight piece. And up here, there's something going on very mysterious. See what you think it is. All right, now we get to my little ice flowers, reminiscent of ice flowers thing. Look at this. What the heck is going on? Now I was looking west. This was on April 28th at about a little after 8 p.m. And it just grabbed me, like this whole scene. It kind of drew me in where I couldn't take my eyes off of it, and I didn't want to leave. I wanted to see what the heck is going on. But I got no clarity on what the heck was going on. I only got more questions than answers. So it was just really odd because for this time of day, there shouldn't be these bright white lights, backlighting this stuff. And this stuff shouldn't be here in this way, shape, and form. So let's look at the enhanced version. I kind of blew this out to see what the color signatures were, see what we're dealing with. So we obviously have a different burst of energy happening here than what's going on here. But what's interesting is at B.1 we do see this big massive shape. So I'm going to say that this is a craft over here. Something is either coming out past it or from it. I want to say that this has to be some type of organic or a bioorganism that we're dealing with, not metal craft, but a living organism or something in the sky. I say that because on another scene we're going to see some other things enter the scene that look like that as well. It's very odd regardless. So here, again, it just looked odd. Look at this. This is, if you look at my cursor, this is on an angle. It's like part of a triangular form on angle, pitching downward. This is coming across a different angle. All this other stuff, again, kind of looks more like bioorganisms or something. Very weird. Very, very strange. So we look to the right-hand side, again with some enhancement because I'm trying to get at what might be going on. I do pick up some red-pink signature, and I do invite you to look at my description box below to see what could be causing that red color. And then we're starting to see something enter the scene, and I'm going to focus on that and this little shape diving down here. When you look at my cursor, this shape is like a little fish with a tail on the end, pointed elliptical part of the fish heading that way. This thing looks like it's coming in to get it, and let's see if it'll pop up in another scene or two. So this is the thing I'm calling the fish. Down here where I'm circling my cursor, looks like a classical fish form. And then I don't know what the heck this is, but that ain't no natural cloud. And then why is this attached to it in a weird way or going right past it? I don't know. This whole scene is truly bizarre if we're talking about clouds, which we're not. It's something else. So now we're going to look at the fish thing I was just pointing to. If you look at my cursor, it's over here next to this palm tree. It's blown out because I'm enhanced the photo so the brightness becomes really bright, because I wanted to pick up this thing. Now look at this thing with the question marks. It's moving in from the right hand side of the screen. That looks like a classic whale or shark head and maybe some fins coming in after this little fish form. I swear to you, this has to be some type of bioorganism. It's what it looks and feels like going after this thing. And maybe this is some other kind of bioorganism going after this. And this almost looks like a mouth, something going after it, chasing it. So see what you think. There is a show I did previously, way back, called Awe-Filled Sunset. Like A-W-E, Awe-Filled Sunset. And in that one, also looking to the west, about the same time of day, plus or minus an hour, there was a lot of stuff in that sky that looked very aquatic, these little organisms. It just was really, really bizarre. So I think there is a whole host of things going on up in our skies, not just cloaking craft, but other bioorganisms, a small scale, also of a massive scale, that I've caught on different occasions. So see what you think about that, or feel it out. Maybe you're going to start to witness some of these things too if you haven't already. All right, now this is looking to the north, and this was just an odd, dark mass I could just see being backlit. Again, it's got a really straight line. It's kind of a pointing down, and that's just no natural cloud that you would see in this area of the world, in the skies of Miami. Not in the for many decades. This kind of stuff is just really popping up, since, I don't know, I've only really started seeing this get more and more exaggerated, in 2018, but obviously it probably started even before. But really weird stuff. Look at the right-hand side. look at the character and the texture happening in here. Now there's so much particulate, this is the best I can do. I know it's going to be grainy, but I think it's still enough to let you know that there's something odd happening there. And also just the bright white light coming up backlit behind this thing when we're looking true north, way past like sunset. So something odd's happening there. Okay, now we're looking west, and this one is around 6 p.m., a little after 6, and so we're looking west. That's a supposedly setting sun. It's way too white and glaring, and that's a whole nother story I cover in other shows about the concept of the solar simulator or artificial sun. But here we have this huge imprint forming. You see the line that this is a triangular form. So we look to the right, and with enhancement, you can see it here a little bit better. So I'm calling that a big cloak and craft back in there. And then again, we get this red signature popping up, red-pink, with the enhancement. And again, look at my description box below for what could be causing that color, whether it's local or something on a much bigger scale. Okay, this gets real interesting. Looking to the south now. I think that's pretty clear. We got chemtrails, chemical-filled trails, making a crossing each other. Now, and there's something else happening down here beyond. Now, I've been noticing that these things are crisscrossing right when I've observed like a weird cloud cluster or puff. It kind of like bisects or runs right through it. And then this like cloud material, quote-unquote cloud material, because it looks very artificial, kind of moves out of that, perception of where that thing's crossing through. So we look to the right-hand side, and this was the mass I had observed that was kind of located more down where this thing is crisscrossing, and it just kind of had moved out of that area. So there's, to me, absolutely something cloaking back in here. Right here where my cursor is even looks like a machine part, like getting reflection off of it. And as you look, it looks like we've got like a long line coming down here, and yet there's a triangular form beyond it. This almost even looks like a face. This is looking really weird. If you look at this as a head turned, we're looking on the top of the skull with 2 eyes and a nose, and it's looking that way. Looks like it's holding like a club or some kind of sword. Really bizarre picture going on here. Then there's something strange here with the texture. Looks like something is cloaking and sitting there with a bar and then a piece here and a piece here, kind of symmetrical. The more I look at this, the more I'm starting to see what you can find in there. Okay, this is down here for reference. That's where our little cross was happening, or crisscross. And look what's going on all above it. This is another example where I say it's easy to get caught up in little details when we go in micro level. But we've got to zoom out to the bigger picture, to the macro level. Let's see what else could be going on at a much vaster scale. So what is this going on in here? It's a pointed ellipse. There's another one here, upright, vertical pointed ellipse. Something else looks like it's moving into the scene over here. So is this like a hole, like that things are coming in and out of, like a vortex or a portal? Or is this a cloak and craft and we're just seeing like the imprint of it? I don't know. See what you think. Okay, now this is looking north and up. On the left-hand side, just what caught my attention was I could see some shadowed bodies kind of being backlit by this really bright light, these big points of light, which, again, this is after really kind of after sunset or at sunset, but in the north looking up. We shouldn't have bright lights here. It would be way to the left in the scene. So we look to the right with enhancement, and I absolutely see a very rigid body that looks like it has, intelligent design to it. And another piece down here, it looks almost like 2 pieces. Maybe it's connected, hard to say, but definitely nothing natural that should be in the sky. Natural sky, anyway. Okay, here's another one looking up. Again, I just saw this strange light, kind of backlighting a figure, and I was hoping we'd get some more clarity on what this figure was. But now it looks like this figure is just part of a bigger one coming in. If you see my cursor, it looks like, almost like a cone, like the end of a long, elongated cone. And then we get this bright white patch coming up, which was a surprise for me to see this, and a sea of this cyan color and energy. So what is going on in this scene? I can't tell you, but this should not be in the north regardless at this time of day and this latitude and this location in the earth. Very strange. Now we're looking south, and this just also was a really strange configuration of quote-unquote cloud. We look to the right-hand side with enhancement. We can see there's some body in there, maybe cloaking. Very, very strange. And then also this was strange. So we got this dead level stuff coming down here. And then we have this going off on a different angle. And there's a totally different character going on in this blanket of cloud that looked very artificial above. So I got to say there was just cloak and craft activity happening all over the scene to the south. Now we're going to look to the east, and this just looked really strange. We've got a pure triangular form at B, and again happening at C. So we're going to look at this with enhancement, and we can see these things don't look like natural cloud, these little pieces that have some solid forms going on in the background. I'm going to call those cloak and craft, and be mindful too of the color signatures. Look at this. This is like a standard sky, and then we get all this warm signature. So that tells me there's some energetics happening in there, like cloak and craft activity to generate that. Otherwise, it would all look like this, to the right, which it doesn't. Now we're going to look at this. Sorry, I'm going to go back one. We're going to look at this over here at this part of C.1. We're going to zoom in, and here's the original. And look at this thing. It's all choppy, a little fuzzy. I call that staccato cloud effect when, to me, it means that there's some type of cloak and craft, and just by whatever its power source is, it might be creating atmospheric disturbance, or it could be intentional, to cloak these things, or both. Or it could just be the temperature of the thing generating this is creating like this illusion, of this choppiness. Whatever the case, it's bizarre, and we'll look at it with enhancement. And we can see there's like a darker form in here. It looks like cloaking material wafting around it. And then we have this curve is concentric. Look at that. That's parallel here, these curved lines. And there's a lot of texture and weird things happening all over the place. So the longer you look at this one, the more stuff you're going to find. See what you can see in this. Okay, now we're going to look to the northwest. And on the left-hand side was the original. And I just noticed again one of these weird bodies being backlit by a weird, mysterious light. So we look to the right-hand side when I put enhancement on it, and here's the form that one body is taking. Looks kind of rigid, looks like there could be symmetrical, intelligent design going on in here. But then look at this light. Look at the shape of it and the angle. It's going upright, and it's just really, really odd. Again, for looking northwest, there shouldn't be something of that form, of that scale, and going kind of like a little off-plane vertical, though. Not off-plane, but like off-center from vertical. In this, part of the sky, or really in any part of any of the sky, nothing should look like this. So again, I would love for all the particulate to blow away so we could actually see this clearly. Again, like I say, maybe one day we will see that, and maybe I shouldn't wish for it, but we'll see. All right, then here's looking north, and again, like a little after 7 p.m. on a different day on May 1st. And I'm just noticing this, again, looks like a very odd, quote-unquote, cloud pattern. It's very wisp-like. Down here I start to see a triangular form, an imprint of one. See a strange, very clear, symmetrical shape diving down this way. And so we look to the right at some enhancement, and here we go. Look at this. This is another like fish-like form, where that would be the head of the fish, and that would be the tail. But it's very symmetrical. This looks very rigid, like it has a very rigid structure, albeit there's, camouflaging or whatever on it. This could be a bioorganism. It could be a craft. Hard to say what that is. And then we have this thing, this energy burst coming down this way, which could be cloaking something bigger. Again, this could be like a wedge-like, triangular shape, and this thing's coming over the top of it. I don't know what that is. And then we have this tube. This is like, it looks like an actual tube coming out of here. Looks like coming out of nowhere, but this might be on the deck of some ship that's just entering the scene. So see what you see is going on in there, and this really weird activity right in the front here too. That's a stumper for me. See what you can find. And then here I'm just going in on that fish piece with exaggerated enhancement just to see what are we looking at. And I would say, hey, we're definitely got an object here and one happening. Look at that pipe again right there. So there could be something happening back in here. See what you think's going on. Now here we are looking north again, and now there's a lot of particulate. Again, that weird light in the background. And then I start to see something up here happening at A. So we look to the right with enhancement, and look, there's a hole. I have no idea what's going on here, but it doesn't look natural. And then we get this weird red-pink signature, and then this whiteout. What the heck is going on? See what you think. Okay, now we're going to look west, and this is in a different part of town. And I just noticed we have like a fan, like a wedge-shaped thing going on here, attached to something more horizontal. And the whole sky just really looked and felt weird. To the right, it was a little more white, and over here, past this light, it really was like a yellow, but also going kind of reddish on this side. and it stayed more white over here. It was just really, really bizarre. This is all I could catch because obviously I was driving. I had to put the camera out the window and take a picture and hope for the best. But let's see, with some enhancement, again, you can just see part of this wedge coming down to a point. And this is a very straight line here on whatever it's docking to. And then I don't know what's happening here with this big burst of light. Almost looks like an eye shape, a pointed ellipse yet again. And then look what's happening over here toward 8.1. Very weird, looks like structures. Looks like individual craft cloaking over there. And again, look at all the different colors. So we've got red, pink, and then we got indigos and blues, and then cyans, and then the bright white. See what you think's going on there. And then this is a little in a different location, but still looking to the west at the system we were just looking at. And look how weird it's getting. So I know it's a little grainy because I was shooting at a far distance. But look at, we got like these points, jagged points, these weird kind of forms. That's not natural cloud activity. And it was a really amazing color. It didn't pick up in the camera, but it was, deep salmons and reds and whatnot. So with extreme enhancement on here, look at this. You catch these points I was talking about. Look at these jagged points. And then we start to look at 8.1 and see a very specific form, and B.1 is yet another different form, very symmetrical, has like a hole in it. So I'm going to say there's cloak and craft going on all over the place in that scene. All right, well, this is the photo of the week and the close of the show. I want to say thank you for hopping over here a while, keeping with our little spring flowers, our May flowers theme. We have a little bunny slipper dog squeak toy that I had given somebody. And of course, it was like shredded in a matter of minutes by this tiniest dog. And you just wonder how they do it. But it's still, it was just adorable. And it just made me laugh whenever I saw it around. So I want to wish everybody a gorgeous right now and beautiful week ahead. And just wish you all the best. So tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.